Juan David Ortiz guilty of the offense of capital murder as charged in the indictment and as instructed in this charge.
So that came down pretty darn quickly. Hey, welcome back to the Law&Crime Network. Michael Bryant here. As you just saw there, former Border Patrol agent Juan David Ortiz found guilty of murder. That happened earlier this week and went boom, right to sentencing immediately. Sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. So this former Navy veteran was accused of killing 4 women, allegedly those in the sex worker trade, also attempting to kill a 5th person, all taking place in Laredo, the border town there back in 2018. So I've got a special guest with me, but before we get into that, here's a tease, all right? Here's part of what perhaps got this jury to their decision in about 4 hours. This is the rebuttal argument from the prosecutor in this case, Isidro Alaniz.
Cold, callous, calculating, just like that. You know what's incredulous? For him to sit there and say, well, then I went home, took a shower to my lovely wife and my kids, and I went to work the next morning. Wow. That is incredulous. That is shocking. That is shocking. And it is terrifying. It is terrifying to have the enemy within the ranks of law enforcement. He knew it. He did disgrace the uniform. He did disgrace his country. He did disgrace the blue. But that's not all he said. That's not all he said. In his own words, the monster comes out of me. They are turds. Mierda in Spanish. They are dirty. Why doesn't anyone take out these? I wanted to clean up the streets. I grabbed it by the horns. What did he say about Claudine? Pay attention. He said, with this one, there was no paranoia. With this one, there was no paranoia. All the other I took him to 35 North, and I'll keep cleaning up the streets. And at one time, he says, I'm like, let's go do it again.
So quite the impassioned closing there. That was the rebuttal, and I'm joined by Isidro Alaniz right now. There he is live from San Antonio, and Catherine Lizardo still here. She's just up the road. I think that's up 35 East. About 5 hours, which in Texas terms is next door, basically. So, hey, let me ask you this. First of all, congratulations on the win. This was a crazy case because of the victim's alleged status, because of the impact the whole Border Patrol situation with what's going on in this country now at the border, and Laredo being front and center for those activities. So, let me ask you just generally, what was the plan going into this? Did it play out as expected? You had the false confession defense. Give me just in a nutshell there how you approached this case and if it went as expected.
Thank you, Michael. That's right. This is a unique case on so many fronts. One of our themes in this case was that no one is above the law and no one is below the law. The status or work that these women did is irrelevant. Everyone in this country is entitled to the protection of the law. They were innocent victims in this situation, and that's the way we approached it, and it was one of our themes.
You know, I got to ask you, because when it happened, I had to do one of those, double takes. You lost a player in the midst of the game here, and it was, I think, the 4th day. Joshua Davila said, I think I've had enough of working in this office. What happened, and was it or wasn't it connected to how this case was playing out in court?
Well, that's an unfortunate situation, but that's real life, Michael. You can't plan for things like that. It's unfortunate that he decided to walk away, but we were prepared. And, it's a personnel matter. But we have a bigger mission, and that mission is bringing justice to these victims. So basically our philosophy is next man up, and that's what we did. We had a great team. We lost one, but we had a goal, and that goal was justice. So we didn't skip a beat. It didn't change a thing. The evidence and the facts and our determination and our focus was on bringing justice. And quite frankly, I didn't have time to worry about somebody who quit. So we kept going forward.
Yeah, very unusual right in the midst of the trial. The jury had to be thinking, there was a guy here for 4 days and now he's gone. I know that there was a decision made not to go for the death penalty in this case. Was that an issue between your office and Mr. Davila, that maybe he wanted the death penalty and that wasn't on the table?
No, it had nothing to do with that at all. You know, these are high pressure situations. I mean, when you're in a capital murder case, and this was his first, it is a high pressure situation. You never know how people are how they're going to react to pressure. I've been down this road before. I am the leader of this office, and this is my third capital murder case. And so for the betterment of the team, I should say, he left the team and we kept moving forward. So, you know, that was really something that is irrelevant in the big picture for us. And we abandoned death more than 2 months ago, and that was at many meetings and discussions at the request of the family. You heard Joey Cantu speak about that. He has a very unique story, and he said it there in open court. He had lived and served a long prison sentence. And when we got together sometime in July and had all the victims' families together, they collectively and unanimously asked me, the DA, to remove the death penalty. And I thought about it. And at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about the families. And it's about justice. And justice is different for everyone. In this case, they felt that a life without prison would be a more severe punishment. To have him live the rest of his days thinking about what he did, locked up, knowing that he'll never see the light of day again. So, and that could be debated for days, but I see their point. Some cases, perhaps the death penalty is the right punishment, but in this one, life without the possibility of parole is what the family wanted, and it's what the family got.
Do you think you would have gotten the death penalty had it been part of the process?
We were geared up, and I do believe that this case did have all of the aggravating factors to receive the death penalty and answer those two special issue questions. We'll never know, but I was confident that we could secure the death penalty.
So let me ask you this, because as a serial killer, his time frame was unique. To do all the damage he's been convicted of doing over a 12-day period, not what we would normally think of as a serial killer who might space things out over months or years. So I'm assuming there was a huge investigation into what potential other murders might be connected to Mr. Ortiz. What was that process like?
Well, this was a multi-agency investigation. Yes, being that he was not from Laredo and that he was in the military, we had local and state law enforcement, the Texas Rangers and the Webb County Sheriff's Office, with the help of other law enforcement agencies, looking into his past, right? Trying to see if there are any other similarities on any other pending cases or cold cases that were out there, that none could be found. The similarities in this case were striking. All of these women worked as sex workers. All of these women were picked up around the same boulevard of San Bernardo Boulevard. All of them had substance abuse and criminal records. All of them received injuries and fatal injuries above the neck. All of them were killed with the same service H&K 40 caliber. And all of them were killed in the rural part of Webb County, in rural roads, and left to be found. All of those characteristics, all of those similarities painted a scheme and commonality in all these crimes.
Yeah, and clearly the jury wasn't buying the I'm just cleaning up the neighborhood kind of analysis there. Hey, Catherine, let me bring you into the mix here. Do you have a question for the DA?
Yes, I do. First, congratulations with your victory there. My question is, with the increasing border patrol issues and rift, how has the community reacted to the verdict, and how has that affected that border patrol distrust that's happening right now?
Locally here in Laredo, Texas, there is a lot of trust in the border patrol. I know that nationwide they're under the microscope. From my personal experience here on the border that I cover from Laredo to Zapata, they do an outstanding job. Now, let's not make any mistake. In any law enforcement agency, you're going to have individuals that violate the law. It was shocking that it would happen at this level. Only at the end here, only Juan David Ortiz knows why he did what he did. Our job is to enforce the law against anyone. Obviously, there is a higher burden when you're a law enforcement officer that nobody expects anyone to betray the shield and betray the Constitution and the oath to serve and protect. But unfortunately, it's not a perfect world. It does happen, but if it does happen, there are consequences. And this is a great case. The people of Laredo are at peace knowing that no matter what level of law enforcement you are in, if you commit any sort of crime, especially a heinous crime like this, that you will be held accountable. And the people of Webb County, the people of Zapata are at peace today with this verdict.
You know, one thing comes to mind here. I'll ask you one final question. If we take a step back and look at the evidence that was presented, to me, Mr. Ortiz was his own worst enemy. When he was interrogated, and we know the defense was, hey, it was a false confession. And I would suggest there were maybe some things that should have been done better in that interrogation or that interview, but he sunk his own ship there. What's your take on that?
Well, my take is what I told the jury in closing arguments. This is no ordinary citizen. This is a 9-year veteran of the United States Border Patrol, a guy who has a bachelor's in criminal justice, a master's in public administration. He's been through this drill before. He's been sitting on the other side of that table before when he makes his arrest. As I said in my closing argument, he initiated and continued the conversation. And it's not as simple as no means no. It has to be an unequivocal request to stop the interview or to ask for his attorney. He kept talking. He was cooperating. He was even asking for accommodations from the Texas Ranger and Captain Calderon. And yes, things could always be done better in any case. When we do the after action report and we come back and we look at this, we're going to take lessons from this case. It is going to be a case study here in Texas in all aspects, right? To the search of the Dodge Ram truck, to the method that the interviews were done, to the collection and storage of the evidence. I have to give credit to the defense in this team, Joel Perez and Ray Fuchs. Those two gentlemen put on a good fight. And like Catherine says, they made some very strong arguments in their closing statements. We were happy that we were able to come back strong in our closing, get the jury refocused on the issues, and guiding them to the proper verdict of guilty for capital murder in this case.
Well, I gotta wrap it up with this. Is the Whataburger and soda, is that part of the interrogation technique? How does that work out?
I know there's been a lot of comments about that. They did ask him what he wanted to eat. Whataburger's a big chain here in Texas, and that was the last meal he had. I mean, I can't blame him for that.
All right. I'm not sure if Whataburger appreciated that or not, but it definitely was something that stood out to us. Like, that's a very interesting choice. Hey, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Isidro Alaniz, prosecutor in the case against Juan David Ortiz. Again, congratulations on that victory. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with us here today. Hope to see you again, and good luck with the cases going forward.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Thank you, Catherine.
Catherine's going to stick around, and we're going to talk in just a few moments here about another case we've been following as it's ramping up toward trial. It's the latest in the case against Courtney Clenny. She's the OnlyFans model charged with murder. We'll do that right after this.